actually very likely that the balloonists got hired for very young dragons to get around since they can't fly yet. That would actually explain the basket size as well. I think you're right. That's super cute. So yeah, Beastmaker's world, it is a swamp, but they somehow made a swamp pretty. Like, I was talking to Pi about this when I first played this game, but they somehow made the swamp gorgeous. If I recall right, this was actually one of the times where they kept the species trait for the dragons. Because I talked a little bit about it, but I didn't really expand on it. Basically, the artisans were pretty typical what you would think for Western bipedal dragons. The peacekeepers were always very stocky and spotted. The magic crafters, I believe, had horns, small horn details on their noses. And the beastkeepers were always very, very fat built.
Nasty Nork is turning our swamp into an electrified junk heap. And it used to be so beautiful.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, like that, the way he looks is how generally the beastkeepers, the beastmakers, looked originally. First stage is Terrace Village. We want to get off the bridge. You can see the next one over there is Misty Bog. Luckily this is wide enough that we can just set it on fire and run away. Oh! Okay, I usually do get the Magic Crafters and the Dreamweavers mixed up. So it was the Dreamweavers that had the little horns on their nose. The Magic Crafters were the ones with the, It wasn't straight up 4 horns. What it was that the Magic Crafters would have 2 horns growing out of the base of their head, and then a couple inches up, the horns would split into 2. So there were only 2 bases attached to their head, but there were 4 horns. And it was really cool, and I love the look of it. I do really like the designs for the dragons. I've said it before, I think that they did fantastic on the designs for the individual designs for every dragon in this game, but I really wish they had kept the species things as well.
Spyro, it's great to see you, but I gotta go.
Okay, bye! Also, there's another well you can drop down here, which has... Anyway. Yeah, I do not know why, but for whatever reason, my entire time of playing this game, I have always called them the Beast Keepers instead of the Beast Makers. And it's a habit that I am still trying to shake, so I still might say Beast Keepers. Because for some reason I can always get the Peacekeepers right, but I keep forgetting these have a completely different name. So if I say like Beast Keepers, I mean Beast Makers. Also, that little tin gem behind the tree trips me up every time. I'm just so glad I remembered to grab it this time. Nope, we have the Artisans, which are all dragons that focus around the arts. We have Peacekeepers, which are essentially the military fighters of the Dragon Realms. We have the Magic Crafters, which are the mages. Then we have the Beast Makers here, which I believe their name is literal like the other ones. They do actually create beasts, which is why they're here in the swamp, because the swamp has a lot of things that can give rise to life.
I feel so sorry for all the dragons still trapped in Crystal.
Also, we have to talk to Cray right now.
Rescued 50 dragons, I'll feel a little better.
They all have their own unique way of saying what you need to do, but that's what happens if you go to talk to one before you have everything you need. This is the boss, and I don't like the boss of this world. He's a very annoying boss. It's not a well we can go down. Actually, my favorite dragons are the final homeworld. The final dragon homeworld, I should say, that we're going to, which is directly after this one. Which are, I said it earlier, the Dreamweavers. Seriously though, look at this place. It's somehow gorgeous. How did they do that? How do you make a swamp pretty? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Pi. I actually really appreciate you posting that because I can't remember the exact details. You want to go ahead and post that about the artisans and the peacekeepers? Go right ahead. We're a little past the homeworld, but hey, nothing. More information never hurt. But no. Go to the chest, Spyro. Don't go in the whirlwind. And that's all the gems. And that's the level complete. This is actually a fairly simple homeworld to 100% if you just remember the gems hiding in spots here and there. Oh, I didn't realize that there was the whole... Well, I guess technically the world would be the Dragon Realms, considering it is an entire world itself. All of these realms span... I believe it's half of a globe. We won't get to the other half until the third game, though. So I'm sure that they're all really shocked he turned out more of a peacekeeper type. Also, I kind of love the no skydiving sign way out there. I do find it interesting that if you believe what one of the older dragons said, they always really expected Spyro to be, something else. Ooh, tell me. These are really weird reliefs. What's with the googly eyes? Interesting. Spyro still does fit the artisans in term of design because peacekeepers tend to have more muted colors, which was something that I believe they kept, if I recall right, from the last stream. Woo. It does make sense that they would give any unknown parentage eggs to the artisans, though. If the artisans are the more peaceful of the homeworlds, it's just safer there for young dragons.
Watch out, Spyro. The Norks in these parts have discovered the power of electricity, and it really stings.
I do like the fact that the beast makers in this game have kind of more of a beak look to their mouth. That's definitely an overall change I think is pretty awesome. That being said, the fact that a lot of the dragon clans don't have the fast and hard method makes me think that at least in this version, your clan is more of your profession than your bloodline. So like if they had an artisan dragon who had a good capacity for fighting, for instance, then that dragon might be able to become a peacekeeper. Which is a neat thought. The one thing I am having to relearn after a while of not playing is that Spyro's a game where you shouldn't hesitate. Enemy attacks will stop the moment Spyro's attack hits them. So even if you're a hair's breadth away from getting hit, as long as you hit first, you still win.
Good job, Spyro. One day you'll be able to tell all the dragons about your amazing adventures.
Sure, but what I'd really like to do is get out of this swamp.
Ain't me like one of your French dragons, I guess? I don't know, that pose just seemed oddly sensual to me. Is that just me? It looked like he was just laying down, so maybe it was just me. Yeah, ambushes don't work if I can see you go around the corner, dumb butt. Okay, he's up there. I need to circle back around. I really liked his eyes though. Those were really neat looking slitted eyes. Also, I will admit I'm actually really sad that the gem chests and the little spin fan things there did not come back. And I mean the ones where you flame it and the gem shoots up. Those were some of the most creative treasure things in games that I've seen. Yeah, these. I kind of wish they came back. I don't really know what that skill point was for, though. He did, actually. That's a good point. That's pretty cool. Sort of crocodile-themed dragon in a swamp? I think I said it when I first played it, but whoever designed these dragons did not get paid enough. Alright, so now we have to glide to one of the higher areas you can see over there because there are treasure chests and rockets we need to hit. That one was another blind glide because this was hiding behind the corner. Yeah, sure, I can do that. There is another rocket somewhere. I think it's actually on the... Yeah, I'm pretty sure the rocket I'm missing is on the ground because I was running around the first time trying to find this one. I really wish they'd come back because the idea of heating up metal to start a fan... Yeah, there it is. To break the chest is... I've never really seen anything like that. Honestly, I've never seen a game like Spyro. When this first came out, there was nothing like this game, and even nowadays, there's nothing like this game. There's platformers, sure, but I don't think I have ever seen a game that actually puts you in control of a dragon like this. of a dragon at all, and gives you all of the movement specialties that you get. Fire breath. Well, not even just the movement specialties, just all the specialties that you get. Fire breath, gliding, flight. It's never been done again, and it makes me incredibly sad because this was such an amazing idea. My only guess is that they didn't want to be compared to Spyro, but honestly, I am of the opinion that as long as the games are good, copycat games are great to have because then you have more. And not only do you have more from another perspective. And I will fully admit that part of why it saddens me is because we're not gonna get any more Spyros. The fact that we got Reignited at all is amazing to me, but I mean, they went from the original trilogy, which was fantastic, to a couple of the later released games, which were eh. Then we went to Legend of Spyro, which was very And then Skylanders, which is just a monetization piece of crap. It's not even a game, it's pay us money to unlock our game. So I'm pretty sure you have to buy Skylanders, you had to buy the scanner, then you had to buy every single character individually to get anything. And then Skylanders just shoved Spyro out of the way and became its own cash cow money thing. So it's like, we're never going to see another actual good entry in this game. And it just seriously makes me sad. Well, I guess I should say that the games after the trilogy ranged from to because not all of them were terrible. Also, yeah, this guy had a cage for the chicken. Be free, chicken! I will leave you alive unless I come back and need health. Yeah. Also, I don't know what these things are, but they still kind of give me nightmares. Yeah, like, I will fully admit that I don't remember all of the games that were released after the original trilogy. The ones that I remember were the GBA Spyro games, which were okay? They weren't... I would not say the GBA games were bad, but they suffered for being GBA games. GBA is not really good for platforming games like this. Especially because it had kind of more of a pseudo top-down view that was sort of angled, so it was just really not that great to play. I liked the ideas, just the choice of system was the unfortunate part. And the other one I remembered was Enter the Dragonfly, which was... oh lord. It had a lot of good ideas. But... that's an eyeball.
Be on the lookout for attack frogs. They are cold-blooded killers.
Attack frogs?
And this used to be such a nice swamp.
So we've heard. Yeah, honestly, the main issue that I had with Enter the Dragonfly was that it was released unfinished. The game is massively glitchy. Like, I mean, all the Spyro games are glitchy, but I'm saying, like, this was glitchy in the fact that very obvious glitches were just not patched out. It was clearly released without much testing. It was released mostly unfinished. The only difference you get in collections is slightly different boss fights. Basically, the final boss has 3 phases, and you only get a certain number of phases depending on your percentage rate. So, like, there's not a bonus for 100%ing the game like every other game does. You physically have to 100% the game to actually get the rest of the game. Which is a terrible design choice for some very obvious reasons. Especially because you still had to go through every phase of the fight every time you fought Ripto. So if you, like, barely percented it and then you went back and tried again, you would have to go through all of the phases you've already done. And the phases were poorly done, tedious, and boring as well. It was just very, very clearly a game that was not even out of beta when they released it. Because, like, look at the Spyro games here. Imagine a Spyro game that did not give you a bonus for 100%. Imagine that for a second. Imagine any game that required you to fully 100% the game just to get the rest of the game. It was very clear that there was a lot of pressure to have some kind of 100% bonus because the other games did, but since the game was not finished, they just put the rest of the game behind it.
Thanks for releasing me. It seems like I've been trapped in here since I was your age.
Oh no!
Why, I remember...
Oh god, run, Spyro!
Gotta go!
They're like, well, and like I said, the sad thing was is that Enter the Dragonfly had some... Or no, it wasn't Enter the Dragonfly, I think it was Year of the Dragonfly. It was one of the Dragonfly-based games, I don't remember. It was on, I think, yes, I don't remember what it was on either. But basically, yeah, it was the game where you were focused on collecting the dragonflies, and it had a lot of good ideas. You got to see a lot of the baby dragons you rescued in 3, for one. You got a bunch of different breaths. That's actually where the different breath elements originated, was in the Dragonfly game. And you got fire and ice. You got electric breath. And I think there was a fourth offensive breath you would get, and then you had bubble breath for catching the dragonflies, which was annoying, let's say. That was another mechanic that really should not have gone through. Wasn't it the dragonfly? Yeah. Yeah, like, I love the idea, I love the stages.
Thank you for releasing me.
Just the actual mechanics of the game were a complete, buggy, broken, terrible mess. I heard that, a couple of the games afterward, I don't remember what they were all called, but I remember one was called A Hero's Tale, were actually really good. Well, maybe not really good, but they were decent. But honestly, at that point, I just didn't want to play any more bad Spyro games. Also, apparently those things are too big to charge. Yeah, Hero's Tale was one, and then there was, I think, one other that was released before they gave up and went into The Legend of Spyro, which... Oh. Like, from the very moment I started up the game, there was one massive problem with The Legend of Spyro. And if you want to figure out what that problem is, look up who Sparks' voice actor was.
I'll tell you what to do with those creatures. Smash them, Spyro! Stamp them out and squish them and squash them!
How about charge them and flame them? We are dragons, after all.
I think we found Tehran's brother. It was called The Legend of Spyro. I think that was legitimately the first in the game just had that title, The Legend of Spyro. Down there? Oh, I see it. That was it! Thank you. It has been forever since I've touched any of those games because they were just so terrible. Yeah, look who his VA for the very first game was, though. Yeah! Yeah! And on top of that, The Legend of Spyro was no longer a platforming series. It was a massive beat-em-up series, to the point that it would literally seal you in an area until you had killed enough enemies, and your breath attacks had limited power. I don't understand how anybody thought that would be a good idea. It was so terrible. Like, if you wanted to do that, make your own Dragon series, because that is absolutely not what Spyro is. But yeah, they turned Sparks into a smart-mouthed wisecracker in the middle of an apocalypse story. So not only was it completely alien to the character, it was also exceedingly inappropriate as well. Also, they gave Sparks, like, buff muscles. He was like a buff arm muscle, and his face was just so weird. So yeah, basically all of them were terrible choices, because I think it's a similar problem I have to the Zero series of Mega Man, is that I'm not opposed to wisecracking in dark games. I think that having some comedic relief in dark games helps, because if you lighten the mood a little, then the next dark mood that comes becomes more impactful. But the problem is that they already had a character who was kind of a wise ass. Guess what? It's Spyro himself! It shows more in 2 and 3, but even in this game you can see he's kind of a smart-mouthed kid. So why in the world do they need to change Sparks to that? Yeah, that as well. I think I played the second game for like... No, I've actually never managed to play the second game. I played some of the first and some of the third. Also, I'm just gonna say it. The version of Spyro in The Legend of Spyro is ugly. He is so ugly looking. And it's sad because I like the idea of Cinder a lot. I liked actually having a female dragon around, but oh my god, everything about that game was terrible. I just have the middle image of that hello fellow children meme. Yeah, so welcome to, where are we? Welcome to Treetops. This is the level we were alluding to when we were talking about the supercharge. This is the level that is going to either make you master the supercharge, or you're going to hate your life. Just Google hello fellow children and you'll be able to see the meme. It's funnier if you see it.
If you jump at the end of a supercharge ramp, you can really go far.
I'm all over it.
Yeah, talking about games that are actually good, Treetops, you can actually see from here, it's basically just a bunch of ramps and tiny islands. Like I said, you are going to master the supercharge, or you are going to be miserable this entire time. Because there is a lot of supercharge tricks to get around and to break certain chests, get to certain areas. I like it, but at the same time, holy crap, is it really difficult. I love the meme so much! It's a great meme. If I could save stuff on Discord without having to open Firefox, I would just put it up on screen. So yeah, Treetops is very chaotically laid out. There's a lot of places you can go, and basically every place requires a lot of gliding or a lot of supercharging. We're going to be doing a lot of supercharging chains, and I'm just going to warn you right now, I'm going to be dying a lot. Because this is very, very difficult. So to start, you can actually look at the map there and you can see all the different islands. And keep in mind that some of those islands do not have tops. They are literally just supercharged ramps. And the thieves, you can hear a couple of them you have to be really careful about, because if you chase them around too long, they'll make you do the entire circuit you have to do to get up to them over again. And that ain't fun. Trust me. Also, this was actually the stage where I played where I got the glitch that the thief I was trying to chase got stuck on one of the ramps and was completely immortal. He was just running in place. He wasn't even running in place. He was completely frozen in place. Not making any noise, but I couldn't kill him. I think that screen cap is still floating around somewhere in my Twitter.
Greetings, Spyro. For an amazing tour of the treetops, don't just stop at one supercharge.
This is also, I think, the only stage in this game where you can, where there's the supercharged ramps are long enough and numerous enough you can actually chain supercharged ramps. I think a good look is we're just sort of traveling around here and see if you can guess how we're intended to actually chain things together. Got it. That can be a little tricky to get because the distance between it and that corner there is a little bit deceptive. I've actually hit that corner or overcorrected and hit the side before. So to do this, we have to go all the way back to start, because we have to start with the very first supercharge ramp to make this work. The one good news is that there's not much backtracking in this level, because if you mess up, you're dead. That's not the right way to go. Did you get the right thing? I don't know what I did, but whatever it was, that was wrong. Okay, I think I know roughly what it wants me to do. Charge here. Charge here. Make a very hard right to hit that, that, and like that. I might have jumped a little too soon. Nope, Spyro made it! Holy crap, first... Maybe on my first attempt, that's new. I think I'm having the opposite of a streamer's curse. I'm doing everything on the first try that took me 20 when I first played. Whoa.
That was quite a ride, Spyro. You learned a lot since you were a young glider.
Yeah, well, you could have found an easier spot to get stuck.
I love just nonchalant shrug there, like, eh. Okay. So the red thief is the problem. How do I get to the red thief? Yep. Oh, I have to actually be up there? Okay. Let's see if I can do it the first try again. Oh, I bonged this time. That's actually probably good because I think that'll put me back on the island. I don't think I hit Lyle's again. Nope, I'm back on the island. Okay. So I had roughly the right idea. Oh, that's not the right way to do it though. There we go. Right idea, I was just missing the step to go over the wall and hit that supercharge. And that's the whole stage. I do like this stage, but man, you gotta be good at supercharging to make the most of it. Okie dokie, moving right along. I'm actually not sure that these areas have more stages than 2 and 3. It always felt like they did because they were so short. But looking at it now, I'm not so sure. Let's check out the speedway. Then we will fight Metalhead and we will be free from the Beastmaker's world. I remember this one. I remember how I did it. I don't remember how I did. Whoa, what? Okie dokie. Just take a look around here. Quick. They come from there and I go around. And down this way. The chest's in the plain area. Okay, I think I've gotten an idea of how I can make this work. Also interesting, Spyro's little turn there cannot actually put him in the water. He did enough to hit the water, but it wouldn't let him actually go into it, so you can't screw yourself over by doing that while you're close down, because the water will actually force him upwards and straighten him out. That's a boat I missed. Another boat I missed. Oh, apparently if you bonk, though, he won't finish the whirl. I have a plan. Bro, that was clear air. What did you bonk on? I missed another one, that's alright. Oh, I missed a chest somewhere. I really hope it was not in that... in that purple area, because it'll be a problem. Okay, it absolutely was in that purple area. But that's a good plan. Think of a better one, though. Oh, apparently I face planted on the plane. Alrighty. Spyro, what? Spyro! These speedways are very strange because Spyro sometimes doesn't really do what I tell him to do. That one was my fault. That one was 100% my fault. Spyro can blame me for that. Okay. I feel like I really should have hit that, but... These chests are really a pain in the butt to actually try to hit. Oh, come on. I love the speedways, but Spyro is still not the easiest to control. There's the plane that I am missing. This is a bust. Would have been okay if I hadn't missed the planes, though. Why? So actually hit them with the fire. Don't miss them, Spyro. Jeez. But I completely missed that dude. Okay, that was not the cleanest performance. But, we did it. Get the heck out of here. I mean, who's there to say otherwise? We killed all the witnesses. Pretty much, yeah. Speaking of victors, it's time for the boss fight. I wish that's what this boss was. I wish this was a concert. No, it's just terrible and annoying. You have a bunch of dragons screaming because the dastardly plan was to keep them up all night, and it's actually working. That being said, I'm not gonna lie, a bunch of Bayou dragons rocking out to Metal Band is kind of a cool thought.
Metalhead is all charged up to meet you. Attacking the power pole should disrupt his power supply.
Yeah, I'll talk about that when we're done, but we're not quite done yet. Because down there, I want to get a better angle on it. Check. There is a secret spot. Yeah, right there. You can see the glide point to it. We're here. Still got in. To be fair, considering how dragons are, their booze is probably the best booze in the entire world. Dragon booze gets you so drunk you can taste colors. Related to nothing, I now have the mental image of a dragon high on weed talking about how he can smell the letter Z. Also, no, the Metalhead is the only one so far that actually has fodder outside the boss arena. So here's the thing, as he said, you have to disrupt the power supply. So you charge into them. If you charge into them while they're red, you will get hit. And the entire time, Metalhead is shooting lightning at you and throwing enemies at you. And he sometimes will throw those big enemies or the small enemies. And you can angle them to break stuff as well, but they're actually really hard to dodge with all of the crap that's hanging around in these rooms. I think dragon weed's actually a thing, but it's a plant, not a recreational drug. Also, all the gems up here were things he still had left to throw. So yeah, he actually throws gem enemies. You have to make sure to go up and check. Also, you can actually hit them when they're flashing red, just not when they've actually turned red. Once they're electrified, they're dangerous, but if you hit them before they electrify, you're fine. And I got a skill point for doing... That skill point I know, it was for finishing Metalhead without taking a hit. Once again, the reverse streamer first hits, because I've literally never done that before. In every version of this game I've played, I've always taken at least 2 hits when trying to deal with Metalhead. Huh. Also, this is why you want to go into that little secret area first, so you don't have to come back here. Get that chest. Yeah, this is a boss arena with 500 gems. Think about that for a second. You can probably guess we're missing a lot. Here's the return home portal, and here's something that is very strange. Basically, you should be able to glide over there from here without any issues, but for some reason I always have a lot of issues trying to do this glide. I didn't that time, but for the longest time I think it glitched out or something. And I legitimately just could not make the glide. Spyro just wouldn't do it no matter what I tried. Oh, I see. So this one you actually want to come out because there's a pathway around here. Wait, why would you want a 6-foot tree in your house? What? Being said, Madagascar Dragon Tree is kind of a neat sound. Okay. I don't really know how- I don't really blame myself for missing that one. Maybe they mean indoors like for big businesses? Like, you know how if you go into a really upscale business area, they'll have a lobby that has like a 3-foot high ceiling? Or not 3 foot, a 3-story high ceiling, and then they can plant trees to grow really big in little sitting areas and everything? Maybe that's what they mean? Because that would work really well in those cases, because they would have the space, and you wouldn't want pets in there anyway, so there wouldn't really be any danger. Anyways, that is the entirety of the Beastmaker's world, so time to move on to my favorite
I
one.
feel much better now that so many dragons have been rescued. Jump in the balloon, and I'll show you the Dreamweaver's world. Are you ready to go?
Recommend is a houseplant? I have no idea. That's not the term for a houseplant. Are the botanist people okay?